So obviously the big news this week was the unsurprising revelation that Kyle Tucker did indeed suffer a fractured shin back in May. Charlie, I saw you. I know. I know you were the most shocked. Actually, I saw you doing, as the kids say, touching the sign on Twitter after the news broke. You retweeted your post from just a couple of weeks ago, predicting that this was going to be the eventuality, that we would eventually learn that Tucker did indeed have a fracture. Now, I've seen people on X asking, "Oh, why does this matter?" Well, one big reason is that this team has a questionable record of rushing guys back from injury. And this goes all the way back to the James Click era. And here we are with Tucker, still not running 100%. They're saying he's still not 100%, and yet they're already projecting a return date for him without any rehab starts towards the end of the week. Here is this is my weekly concern level question. What's your concern level that Kyle Tucker's being rushed back?
First off, thanks for hepping me up to the internet vernacular of touching the sign. Two fronts I want to address this on. One, just the disappointment that the Astros couldn't play straight arrow on this. In the run-up to the trade deadline, okay, if you wanted to keep your cards close to your vest so that other teams wouldn't say, oh, the Astros are desperate for an outfielder, Tucker's going to be out at least 3 months, that would have been sensible. But as soon as the trade deadline passed, there was zero potential competitive advantage to not being truthful with your fans foremost on this. So as it turns out, June 3rd is when he fouled the ball off the shin. September 3rd has arrived and not quite back, but getting close. And then there's the issue that you raised, Brandon, with, okay, are you nudging him back a little bit too soon? You just have to trust in how Tucker feels and the doctors. Right? If you come back too soon, you risk a full-blown fracture. That's it for Tucker. Would ruin his offseason, heading into his walk free agency year. So I just think that Kyle Tucker, not out of selfishness, but out of sanity, he's not going to rush back. Of course, he wants to rejoin this team and knows the Astros are in the fight to maybe get back to and win another World Series. But he's not going to unduly jeopardize, I don't know, $250 million at this point in doing so. So nothing's ever fail safe. We don't know yet exactly when the fracture was finally realized, other than it wasn't in the last 72 hours. So a lot of time has occurred since then, and Tucker's gone through the arduous process to where he's obviously not yet 100%, but is he playable and not undertaking unreasonable risk in fracturing that shin by coming back? I think it's as simple as cross your fingers.
For me, it looks like Tucker is getting better quickly. I remember the video Brian McTaggart shared a few weeks ago where he was taking some balls in the outfield. I mean, he looked like an old man out there. He could barely move around. And then just the other day, Chandler Rome shared a video of him running the bases, and he definitely looked better, but it didn't look like much more than a steady home run trot, like maybe a little quicker pace than that. He was just running from first to third, but I wasn't like, oh yeah, that looks full speed to me. So clearly I don't believe he's 100%, which it worries me a little bit because they have, Jake Myers and JP France. They've all these guys they've rushed back, and Chandler Rome's written about it and how they were going to have some kind of, report or some kind of investigation to see how they could get better at that. That's never really happened as far as we know. So I have some concerns, but on the positive side, it does look like he's getting better quickly. So I don't see the need to get him out there when he's obviously not 100% against the Reds just in a day or two. To me, it's too soon. The chance of some kind of issue where he has a setback, it's not worth the risk right now. You're winning games. You're 6 games up in the division. I just also wonder if that has something to do with the Bregman injury. And are they rushing Tucker back because the Bregman deal is worse than they're letting on and telling us? Maybe. Bregman hasn't played the last 4 games. They came out and said that now the elbow issue is bothering his hitting as to where before it was throwing. That's not a good sign. So part of me, just because I can't really trust the Astros, it makes me start thinking the worst things, that, maybe something's wrong with Bregman and they got to rush Tucker back to get another big bat in there. So we'll see. As far as perception wise, I will say this. I wouldn't say that the most informed people, but I heard a lot of people saying, oh, is Kyle Tucker just upset at the organization because, they've gone through arbitration and, he's lost and they haven't given him that long-term deal that he wants? Or is Kyle Tucker taking his sweet time to kind of stick it to him, which I certainly don't think that's the case. But that was the perception of some people in the fan base. So I think it's unfortunate that Tucker would get some of that put on him when now we find out it was a much worse injury than they were letting on. He should have been out for this amount of time. It makes sense that he's still not 100%, but the Astros were kind of letting that narrative kind of sit out there because it didn't really bother them any. If anything, it would make Tucker look maybe a little less valuable. So that was one of my takeaways. Is maybe they kind of left Tucker out to dry there, kind of to wear that when I don't know if that was really the right thing to do.
Alex Bregman has bone chips in that elbow and is going to need offseason surgery. Been there, done that. Of course, the Astros can't be honest about it because, unfortunately, it's just the Astros way. I mean, just phenomenal, beyond phenomenal run. Right? The baseball operation for getting close to a full decade now. But just they bring disrepute upon themselves with too many off-field things. But, whatevs. The kids still use whatevs. But Bregman's status up in the air is an issue because Kyle Tucker certainly is not going to play the outfield every day. So you can't DH Tucker and Bregman. And then there's Jordan, who you don't want in the outfield every day, certainly not on the road in bigger outfield, subject to postseason matchups. So there's going to be juggling there. With Tucker, to me, at this point, obviously the play was wait until you get back home against Arizona. He'll only DH the first game back. Nevertheless, and while they're not the concrete AstroTurf surfaces we think of from the 70s and 80s, artificial surface in Cincinnati, the turf, except for the dirt cutouts. You get back to Minute Maid Park, dirt, grass, familiarity. That's the sensible way for Kyle Tucker to get back on the field. And then is it going to be every other day initially? Every second or third game he plays, he's in the outfield. I just don't see you throwing him in there full bore. And with the pickups of Gamble and Hayward, they're both at least average, if not above average defenders in the outfield. So Tucker DHing, you're not trading down much defensively if Gamble or Hayward is in right field. But then that means Jordan has to be in left. And if Bregman's playing, he has to be at third.
Yeah, Josh, I'm really glad you hit on that narrative about Tucker because that is one of the byproducts of the team's lack of transparency is there was a loud vocal part of the fan base that was turning on Tucker, questioning him because how could a bone bruise keep him out this long? Now, you can't, as a team, you can't account for the hyperbole of internet fandom, but I think a little bit of transparency does go a long way, especially in these situations. Again, I don't think it would ever be fair. I don't think we've ever seen anything from Tucker to indicate that he's not a gamer. It's you allow for those narratives to develop when you in the vacuum of good information, you allow people to fill it in with their own theories. Again, that's not just isolated to sports, but and we don't know where the genesis of this secretive philosophy comes from. Whether we know it's always been a mainstay of the Crane regime, we don't know whether that's Crane's philosophy or that was something that Lunau employed that Crane adopted. But we just know that this iteration of the team has been highly secretive and not forthcoming about health issues. I'll give you guys the final word of the domino effect of Tucker coming back and maybe Bregman's health status.
Well, if you have your big five in whatever order, Altuve, Alvarez, Diaz, Tucker, Bregman, you're happy to go with your lineup against the best in the league. Baltimore, top to bottom, probably a little bit better. A healthy Minnesota, as if Correa is ever healthy and Royce Lewis stays healthy. But top to bottom, Minnesota, probably a little bit better. But the Astros have the goods to go make a run at winning the World Series. There's no question they have a roster capable of that. And it's not mandatory that they have both Tucker and Bregman for that to be the case. In a short series, the Astros can beat anybody else that they face. Of course, the flip side of the coin is 2 out of 3, 3 out of 5, and ultimately 4 out of 7. Anyone the Astros are going to face is going to be capable of beating the Astros. That is how postseason baseball works. And just for fun, I wanted to work this in before we get out, right? As the Astros, right, that they're going to overtake both the Yankees and Orioles. Very, very scarce hope of that happening. Cleveland is going to take the Guardians, faltering some. But remember, last 3 games of the season, Astros at Cleveland. Astros beat the Guardians 2 out of 3 here. So they go up there and take that series. They take the tiebreaker. If they sweep that series, well, you make up 3 of the 4 games right there. The Guardians do have a bunch of remaining home games after the 2 remaining road series, 3 at the White Sox to start next week. But this weekend, if you're an Astros fan, get ready to choke down your bile. It might make your head explode, but say it with me. Go Dodgers. Cleveland is at the Dodgers for 3 this weekend. If you want the Astros to have to be able to avoid the Russian roulette of a best of 3 to start the postseason, and then you don't have your pitching lined up to start the division series, the Dodgers taking down the Guardians at least 2 out of 3 this weekend would be very helpful to the Astros cause. So if there's a critical spot in a game over the weekend, that's Joe Kelly's music coming in to face Jose Ramirez. Be thinking, go Joe, go Joe. No chance.
No chance. We hate that guy, Charlie, but I get it, my man.
It's business, Josh.
Yeah, you're right about that. I think just to wrap it up for me, I think the ripple effect, I think of Tucker coming back. And by the way, I mentioned the videos. I saw him running in the outfield and running around the bases, not great, but I watched him hitting batting practice. Looked pretty good. I mean, he was hitting the ball hard. So as far as swinging the bat, I think Tucker can probably give you something pretty quick. That's got to be why the Astros are thinking about bringing him back right now, because they think he can do some damage with the bat. But one of the ripple effects is Altuve. We've been harping on this all season. If you can't get a chance to rest him a little bit, you can't really DH him much going forward with the Bregman injury. If Tucker's coming back and can't play right field regularly, just something to keep in mind. Over the last 30 days, Pena has a higher OPS than Jose Altuve. Over the last 15 days, Altuve's hitting 229. So I think we're seeing some diminishing returns of Altuve being 34 and having to play as much as he's been playing. And you're just not seeing the Altuve that you really want, the one with that pop in the bat guy, just really hitting lots of home runs. And you're seeing him try to bunt a lot more often, stuff like that, which I get it. You're a leadoff hitter. You're trying to get on base, but it'd be nice to have that, Altuve, old classic George Springer type guy at the top of your lineup where you're worried he's going to hit a home run every time he comes up to bat or every time he leads off a game. So Altuve is going to have to play a lot. And if Bregman's missing time, and Mauricio Dubon's having to play third base, which is going to keep Altuve out at second base more often. It doesn't feel like they trust Whitcomb at third after he's made some errors. We've seen them kind of go to Dubon lately. I think Altuve here, he may not quite be peak Altuve as we get into the playoffs, which that concerns me a little bit.
The point is irrefutable. 34-year-old middle infielders are not designed to play 155 games. Altuve's power is way down. His walk rate is down nearly 40%. He has blown to smithereens, his career high in strikeouts. He's having his worst season, excepting the short COVID season, since before he became a superstar. He's still a good player, but an OPS in the 780s is not close to the OPS in the 900s he posted the last couple of seasons. The good news on this is once you get to the postseason, the liberal sprinkling of off days should take fatigue entirely off the table.
Jose Abreu from last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And also we talked about it with Bregman too, is like the numbers be damned in the postseason. It's about situational hitting. And you saw the Astros won the World Series with Altuve basically having an awful postseason in 2022. You don't want to count on that. I think that was a deeper lineup. If I can't, because at least you had, Chas McCormick hitting. But I think, the numbers be damned. You're going to see opposing teams and pitchers are still going to respect the hell out of Jose Altuve up at the plate because of what he can do. We just saw that with the walk-off double in the series against the Royals. So guy still has a flair for the dramatic. I wouldn't want to face him in a big critical lineup or a big critical situation, I should say. So, but again, like you definitely want that guy hitting when the time the postseason comes. Good thing is there's still time for him to get back into rhythm before the postseason gets here. But as Charlie would say TikTok. That's going to be it for this episode of Stone Cold Stros. If you listen on podcasts at places like Apple or Spotify and you enjoy the show, please be sure to give us a 5-star rating. Charlie, Josh, and I will catch you next week, but you don't have to wait that long to get your use of Sports Picks because all you have to do is subscribe to this channel, Sports Map Houston and Sports Map Texans on YouTube. We'll have more content during the week, including a preview of Texans Colts that drops on Thursday over on Sports Map Texans. Thanks for listening. Until next time, go Stros.